Looks like John Emmett is the first on tonight. Greg Phillips as well. John's in Kiel, Germany, going from Mexico to Kiel. Christopher Gilliam. Hello, Christopher and Jane. Fair winds following seas from Chris and Jane in Leamington normally. Training to win. That's also John Emmett, I think. Greg Phillips in a cold morning. First day of winter on the Gold Coast in Oz. Gordon Smith from Denmark. You wonderful lot, he says. I like what he says, Julie. Every time it's something a little different.
It is.
Andrew Pindar he's saying good evening from the balcony of lovely Lake Geneva, Lake Lemon in, I guess that's that Lake Geneva, not ours in Wisconsin, but
Yes.
in Sweetsa. Julie Aaron saying hello from a hot and sticky Cleveland. Maura Stevens in Nova Scotia. Ted Ryman down in Cape Town. Clayton Embley, time to take a break from working on the boat.
Yes, indeed.
It is indeed. Welcome to all of you for our show number 530. And we'll get this one off the dock.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Live from Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club in beautiful San Francisco. It is truly a gorgeous first day of summer here. Hi, I'm your host, Tom Eman. Of course, as usual, my co-host, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, dear friend, is in a scarf today. So she didn't get another hashtag the scarf. Julia Vedekind, also a member of St. Fancy. And I think it is going to be, 87 today?
Yes, it's cool. This is the coolest place in the Bay Area.
You mean in the marina here?
Yeah,
It's gonna be 100 and something inland, right?
Yeah, it is.
But we always talk about the weather. Let's get on with this. Stop talking about the weather. Got a lot on in this show. We skipped Friday because I was down south televising the Rose Cup. We'll get into the pre-start here with this photo we love from John Emmett from the Castle Cove Sailing Club in Weymouth in Great Britain. And as you all know, it is the first day of summer in the Northern Hemisphere, the first day of winter in the Southern Hemisphere, and it is June. They now call it the June solstice. We call it the summer solstice up here, but there are two solstices every year, as every one of you on here knows. One in June and one in December. The June solstice marks the longest day north of the equator and the shortest days south. This is probably the scene that many of us think of. This is, of course, Stonehenge, and this is what it looked like this morning as the thousands of people there awaited the cloudy rise. This courtesy of Carmen Vasquez, the historical run by CBS News earlier today at Stonehenge. Everybody's a TV producer.
Yes.
Not just us.
Well, it's nice.
It is nice. CBS News had that this morning. This is an interesting scene. Now, there's different traditions, different rites of summer, rites of passage, and you know where that is?
No.
That is in Mongolia. This is a big deal, apparently. The shamanic fire rituals in Mongolia. By the way, Graham Sweeney sent a fabulous video, and I didn't have time to get it in the show. And he's up in the Shetlands,
right,
in the island, way north, and you can just see the sun dipping below the horizon, and it's a time lapse video, and then it comes back up. So thank you, Graham, for sending that. Didn't have time to stick it in with this, but we do want to say what's going on down south. You know where that is?
Well, it's probably Antarctica.
Well done. This is the winter solstice in Antarctica. Australia celebrates the shortest day of the year, or at least these Australians, with icy swim and lantern festivals. The Antarctic researchers got in first with a dip in a sub-zero pool, but there are other feats of endurance, creativity to mark the shortest day of the year. Apparently, this is a rich
Oh,
tradition.
makes me shiver to think about it.
The station leader down there, who's an Aussie, Rebecca Jeffcoat, said celebrating the solstice was, quote, a tradition in the Antarctic calendar, unquote, and the swim, a, quote, rite of passage that, quote, once is definitely enough. Quoting continues here, it's madness, it's ridiculous, but it's what we do in Antarctica, Jeffcoat said, quote, it was minus 19 on the ice with a wind speed of 6 knots.
Oh.
I'm glad they use knots, not kilometers per hour or
Yes.
miles per hour. So altogether, it was probably minus 25. And of course, that's Celsius with the wind chill factor.
Oh.
Would you do that? Have you ever
No.
done an ice bath like that?
Not like that.
Well, we did ice baths for sports after, hockey and
Yeah.
other thing to minimize inflammation. I don't know who Facebook user is saying, holy shrinkage, Batman. Yeah, you would. Hey, Julia, we're not going to make any package jokes today after what we did to you last
No,
Tuesday.
promise.
But I just make one. Holy shrinkage, bat. Stuff falls off at minus 25. Who's Facebook user? I wonder who that is. I think you wouldn't find your package for a week after doing that. Pedro here, Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro Foiling Sailor, walking the Magenta Shores golf course at the entrance. I guess he's down in Sydney.
Yep.
Alistair Murray. Hi, Alistair. We're going to run his latest awesome anecdote on Friday. It's the official start of winter in Oz. It's actually June 1st. Maybe we should reorient the Earth, Stingray says, to prevent daylight savings time, please. Howdy back in town. What's ASDIP? A-S something, D-I-P. Alistair saying hi from Melbourne. John Emmett, we have a new challenger coming your way, Tom. I assume you're meaning a, what, John, an America's Cup challenger? We'll have to get back to him with that. But nonetheless, it is a gorgeous day here in the marina. This is a shot. Now, you can tell this is an older shot, Julia. How? That's St. Francis Yacht Club in the background.
Because the furthest.
Well, there's something missing up here.
Oh, yeah, the Salesforce Tower.
Salesforce Tower. So St. Francis Yacht Club, the Golden Gate Yacht Club, the so-called San Francisco Marina. There's 3 other marinas down around the corner here, and this is the West Marina, the East Marina there on the other side of Fort Mason, as many of you will know. But we have a gorgeous day, indeed a gorgeous week in store. 87's the high here today, 77 tomorrow. This is way above average. Usually the average high is about what, Julia, 62 or 3?
Yes.
71. Well, you can read those off, 69 and 72. So a nice week indeed here for the start of the Northern Hemisphere summer in the marina here in San Francisco. A belated happy Father's Day to all of you who celebrated it on Sunday. We did down in Newport Beach as well, Long Beach, where we were televising. For most, the third Sunday, I had to research this because I didn't know for sure. I remember living in Europe that it was different days in both Germany and in Spain, and different days than it is here in the U.S. But most of the world celebrates it the third Sunday in June. And then the Catholic countries more or less celebrate it the first Sunday in September, which this year will be the 4th of September. And I beg your pardon, on the 19th of March. And then, speaking of the first Sunday in September, that's when it's celebrated in Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and Papua New Guinea.
Everybody celebrates it.
But everybody does celebrate. Well, you do. I mean, this is a patriarchal society, isn't it?
That's what they say.
I don't want to get into that. I'm so tired. Although we are going to talk about the transgender swimmers. We're going to put that in Corrector Crutonic today. Did you see what the FINA, the International Federation, did?
Yeah.
Well, we got to cover some of this stuff, Julia.
Yeah.
What other comments before we get going here? Another sunny day in paradise. The guys who built Stonehenge, I bet they had the full package. Stingray is saying, Julie, you're not going to live this. Great coverage of the Rose Cup, TFE and team. Thank you, Denise Peterson. We're looking forward to doing GovCup and your son, our Fozy, Jeffrey Peterson, sooner than later. But let's carry on here because I want to go right to this day in history. Do you know what happened on this day in history? Speaking of the summer solstice and the midnight sun, on the 21st and 22nd of June, 1988.
1988.
Any idea? Here's your first clue. You recognize that beautiful town about 100 miles south of the Arctic Circle? The first summer, Stingray wants to know. Anybody recognize that town? It's in Sweden. And what happened there in 1988? Shirley Stingray will remember this. Any number of you will. I'll give you some more hints. That town is called Luleå.
Oh.
Way up north in Sweden. On the bay between Sweden and Finland. For those of you who are geographically challenged, we like to say.
Mm.
What is that? The Bothnia, Bay of Bothnia? I can't remember the name. Some of our Scandinavians will remember that. What happened on this day, the 21st and 22nd of June, in Luleå, just about 100 miles south of the Arctic Circle? There you can see it in the inset. Linux, Stingray's asking. Well, not really. Although I'm going to tell you some more about what's going on there technologically, which I was astonished to learn. Here's another clue. Recognize those yachts, Julia? Those are 12 meters.
I was going to say they look like 12 meters.
That's our New York Yacht Club US 46. There is the Swede 12-meter Swedish 5. Bothnia, Gulf of Bothnia. Thank you. Peter Taylor is saying yes. And this, in 88, was the 12-meter World Championship. Clark Chapin asking if it was the launch of Sferia. Now, Sferia was in the 70s, in the late 70s, 77 and 80. Sferia raced in Newport in the America's Cup. But everyone connected with the Cup was there, including...
Yes, Dennis himself.
Dennis, when he was slimmer and trimmer and fit as a fiddle.
And tan.
And very tan, he having just won the 87 Cup, and now it's in June of 88. We're getting ready, actually, for the 88 Deed of Gift match in San Diego, but we had a 12-meter World Championship, a gathering of the clan, and on this date, the 21st and 22nd of June, may I tell you what time it is then? It's shortly after midnight.
Midnight, yeah.
We had the Midnight Sun Race as part of the 12-meter World Championship up there. And that night, I remember well being there. I mean, the sun doesn't even dip below the horizon. It sort of touches the horizon. Yeah. You're far enough north, and it just dips down a little bit. It's, you know, it gets a little dusky, if that's the right word, at night. But we were up all night.
You still read a newspaper.
You could easily still read. I could read the rule book. I was there on the jury or something. I can't remember.
I've done that in Finland.
But it was fabulous. Yeah, you have a lot of friends in Finland, don't you?
Yeah.
And Peter Taylor said, yeah, America too. And this Midnight Sun Race was so cool. Hi, Fritz Mueller is in Miami. It was so cool that the breeze was a little light during a couple of days and was predicted to go to become a little stronger in the late evening. We actually then ran a couple more races late into the evening, not at midnight, because to take advantage of what they thought would be more breeze.
Yeah.
But this was the this day in history in June of 88. It was a fabulous race. And let me tell you now a little bit more about Luleå. By the way, after that race was over, Julia.
Yes.
There was a party that, started about 3 a.m. And, not a lot goes on up there in terms of an influx, a sporting influx of a bunch of people. And I think every woman, every girl within 100 Ks and maybe then some had made it into town that night. And
yes. How lovely.
It was quite a night, if I remember well.
If you remember.
If I remember well. Gordon Smith. So it's a big harbor town. It's the 6th or 7th largest harbor in Sweden. In shipping and so on, nice water-based town. But this is what's going on up there now, has been since, I think, 2014. Do you know what that is?
Oh, somebody said Linux earlier.
No, Linux was, isn't Linux Finnish? I mean, the Finn technology along with the telephone company. What was that mobile telephone company and so on? But this is, there's a new name. One Czeslaw Sere is watching. Hello. When Czeslaw, if I pronounced your name even close. Here's your clue. Apple data center. Close, Gordon Smith. Very close. There may be an Apple data center there now. But this was Facebook's, Nokia, of course, is the Finnish company, John Emmett. This was Facebook's first construction of a data center, first acquisition outside of the U.S., and they built this massive data center in Luleå. The new European Computer Center is Facebook's first investment outside of the U.S. Some of the reasons that Facebook chose Luleå were because of the natural cooling, of course, due to climate. Sort of like Iceland, where they have all the data centers there and the mining of Bitcoin. Cheap electricity, reliable electric networks, and clean energy. The data center is the largest in Europe with 84,000 square meters.
Ooh.
It's almost 1 million square feet, which is comparable to 11 football fields. Let me just give you a quick look at this, the nerds that we are. The engineers ride around in there on motorbikes, I guess. Electric motorbikes, no doubt. It's
Yes.
just huge. And then these huge cooling fans, you can see they extend all the way to the left side of
Oh,
that.
that was
photo.
early to do that in '88.
Well, no, this wasn't. This is recent. This is
Ah.
like in 2014, I think, when they built this, and there must be others up there. So it's a massive data center, and Luleå apparently is become, as I said, a lot like Iceland, and they're also mining Bitcoin and so on, because you need huge amounts of electricity, you need the cooling capacity, and there's a good university up there too, apparently, supplying bright young people to this endeavor. Stingray saying, I imagine cooling is cheap there. Yes, indeed. Finland lead a lot of tech. Yes, indeed. Polar, wow, looks like an Amazon warehouse. Clark Chapman. Now, it could be that some of the people watching our show today, some of you may be watching this through that data center. How would one know?
Mm-hmm.
What else happened, Julie, on this day in history? The 22nd of June, 1941. You were alive, but you probably weren't.
Probably
young.
didn't. Yes, I was 2.
Germany, this is close. Germany is burning coal again, so much for being the poster child for alternative energy. Alistair Murray is reminding us that the 88 Worlds were won by Kookaburra. You are right, Alistair, and it was Kookaburra 3 that won that regatta.
Oh.
Kook 3. It was a terrific event, and everybody was having a lot of fun. But what happened on this day in history, 1941, Julia? Here's your first clue. Speaking of Germany,
who invaded
burning
whom?
coal again.
Mm-hmm.
This was the largest military. Yes, Clark Chapin has it. Operation Barbarossa, the largest military invasion of all time. As the German troops cross the frontiers, you would say in many languages, the borders, we would say, invading the Soviet Union on this day in June 22nd, actually, in 1941. Germany and its allies launched the largest invasion in military history when they attacked the Soviet Union across a 2,900 kilometer, 1,800 miles front with more than 3 million troops.
Wow.
Operation Barbarossa was a decisive moment in World War II, not for the reasons that the Germans were hoping. As up until the attack on Russia, Germany had dominated the European continent, of course, with a series of successful military occupations and alliances. After an initial series of successful gains, the Axis advanced halted after the failed attempt to capture Moscow by the end of 41, but in the winter, by which time the infamous Russian winter had begun to set in. Apparently, Hitler did not know his history and Napoleon and so on in the 1812 overture.
Mm-hmm.
This allowed the Russians to launch counteroffensives, and the Germans were never again able to seize the offensive and were instead forced into a war of attrition. The failure of the invasion sealed Germany's fate and awoke the sleeping Russian beast, the Russian bear, which swept westward and into Berlin by 1945. The war in the Soviet Union was the most disastrous theater of war in human history. It carried with it gigantic human costs, 26 million civilian deaths in Russia alone. I had no idea. I knew it was big, but not this big, as well as the beginning of the mass extermination of Jews in the Holocaust. More people died fighting in the East than in any other theater of World War II. And yeah, Clark, it's actually the 22nd of June, it is in maybe not that part of the world yet, almost though. It's 2000 UTC 2019, but in much of the world, it's now the 22nd. And as you know, sometimes we run these historical things on either today's date here in San Francisco or tomorrow's date in, today's date in Australia and New Zealand and further west of them. Horrific day. That's the beginning of Operation Barbarossa, as Clark Chapin pointed out. Nazi Germany and its allies invade the Soviet Union during World War II, the largest military operation in history.
Incredible.
Yeah, the reign of terror and the things that happened in Cambodia and so on. We won't go into that, but that's what happened also on this day in history, 22 June 1941, which brings us to the starting line of our sailing show that's got a a history habit sometimes. And we have our usual report, another great one from John Emmett, who checks in, the master mentor. By the way, congrats, John Emmett, who won the
Worlds.
He won his division, which is the apprentice division. He's only young. He's the youngest. I don't even remember the age group. John will tell us, but congrats, John, on winning your division in Puerto Vallarta in the ILCA 6 Masters Worlds. And he reports in now from that final event there, the prize giving, and ends with his arrival and first day in Kiel.
Beautiful kaleidoscope design, alive here, buried in an ocean full of fear, hidden when the morning disappears. So near.
Hi, Tom, Julia and all the Fozy. The king is dead, long live the king. In other words, one regatta finishes and it's time for another to start. So barely have we recovered from the ILCA 6 Masters party. Hopefully the video will give you some idea of what's going on. And we're at Kiel Open Week. In fact, the fleet is just starting to launch. So my understanding is this is actually a record-breaking Kiel, and there simply isn't time for me to show you all the boats which are here before they launch with a simultaneous launch time. I think Kiel is probably one of the best known regattas, but it's more than just the sailing. The social element is really important. And my understanding from German radio is they've had over 1 million visitors to the city because of Kiel Week.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was kind of a tight ending for that video. Thanks, John. If you've never been to Kiel, have you been to Kiel Week? And
Well, no, not before and after, but not during.
And of course, Kiel got kicked off the big yachting center there in '72 with the Olympics, the Munich Olympics, and sailing yacht racing was up there at Kiel. And since then, Kieler Voca, in fact, preceding the Kiel Olympics, they started with Olympic classes regattas, and it was. It is a massive facility, and now is talk about a summer festival celebration.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah,
and people come from all over Northern Europe.
Absolutely,
not just sailors.
Yeah,
and they have big screen televisions. It's a massive festival and a lot of fun. And there's all sorts of food and beverage and celebration of dozens of classes, not just the Olympic classes.
Yeah.
But a terrific event up in Kiel. And of course, John, our international man of mystery and world traveler, has gone. I think he passed through Heathrow to change his underwear or something. Maybe one bag, pick up one bag in the locker room and exchange it for the other. But he literally flew straight from PV, where he did win the worlds in his division. He said the age too, 30 to 44 age group. So he's quite young, Julia. Look at how young he is.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And that segment brought to you by John Emmett Sailing as usual. And now we have, Julia, a new segment, and This is called...
Yes.
Tom goes off on another tangent. I finally formalized it because we do go off on a tangent. And this is picking up on that comment by John that the king is dead. Long live the king.
Right.
Right? So here's your first clue about this tangent on which we are going off.
I forgot who that was.
Well, this is how did that saying, the king is dead, long live the king, when did that what's the origin?
Yeah, I know, but I forgot.
The original phrase, according to Wikipedia, was translated from the French, and Julie, you can do this because I don't have French. Le roi est mort.
Le roi.
Le roi, the king is dead. Live the king. Vive le roi.
Vive le
Vive
roi.
le Roi, thank you, which was first declared upon the accession to the French throne of Charles VII after the death of his father Charles VI in 1422.
I should have remembered.
You should have known this, Julie.
I know.
In France, the declaration was traditionally made by yada yada. I'm not going to read the rest of that. The point being, it's been around since the 1400s. And of course, in those days, the French ruled most of the UK and a lot of Northern Europe. So we digress. And that's my tangents. Maybe we have to call this Tom's tangential tack, taking a different tack. Well, because there's more. Now, when was the last time "The King is Dead, Long Live the King" was used properly in the UK? Here's your first clue. Because it wasn't used when Queen Elizabeth's dad died. It was "The King is Dead, Long Live the Queen."
Well, he looks
Who
Russian.
is that?
He looks Russian. German, rather.
Well, all those Brits are. They're Russian. They're German. They're Teutonic. Philip was Phil the Greek. We used to call him. I didn't call him that. Certainly never to his face. Here's your next clue.
Oh,
Now, he married a German divorcee.
yes. That's Edward, isn't it?
You think? You're right. Maura Stevens has it right. Edward, George to Edward. In 1936, King Edward VIII on the left, and on the right, King George V. King George died, and he was succeeded by, it was last properly used, that expression, in the UK in January 36, when King George V was succeeded by his son, King Edward VIII, who later abdicated for love.
Yes.
Right?
Indeed.
Remember that?
I couldn't forget it.
You weren't even born then. Barely. Stingray says he looks Croutonic to me. Clark Chapin has it. John Emmett's commenting about this travel. He says travel's a bit harder than usual at the moment. I had to drop 2 bags and a tiller tube in the UK and collect my coaching bag and the bike. The guy behind the counter was pretty surprised when he gave me my van key and I gave it back to him. 10 minutes later. Tangential tack, bang in the corner. Facebook user. I wonder if that's Jody. Who's the Facebook user? Hello, Ken Saban. He's saying hello, everyone from the flatlands of Toledo, Ohio, where it's 100 degrees. And Gordon Smith, great to have vlogs taking me to places I have never been. Luca Craig saying, for the first time in New Zealand, we are making the start of the Maori New Year called Matariki. To mark the event, we are having a public holiday this Friday, and the date will move around from year to year as Matariki is a cluster of stars that rises in midwinter, thus reason the date moves from year to year. Thank you,
Oh, that's
Luca
interesting
Craig,
to
who's
know,
down
yeah.
in New Zealand. Emma, he did sound a little slow on that video, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm so full of beer, burgers, and bratwurst.
Yeah.
Impressive as usual, John. And that brings us to this I'm still on this tangent, as you can tell.
Yes.
Prince Charles, the Princess of Wales. Now, the Australians leaked this. The funeral arrangements for Her Majesty the Queen, and some of the details was leaked yesterday, I guess it was, in the Australian. The Prince of Wales and the eldest son of QE2 take the mantle as the new ruler of the United Kingdom. Soon after the announcement of Queen Elizabeth's passing, Prince Charles will be proclaimed King Charles III. So now we know his official name, thanks to the Australian. The Aussies, they're so cheeky. But the royalty will officially ascend to the throne at St. James Palace a day after Her Majesty's death at 10 a.m. the day after. Furthermore, Prince Charles is expectedly to have the title King Charles III, by the grace of God, King of Australia. I'm sure a lot of Aussies are looking forward to that. King of Australia and his other realms and territories, head of the Commonwealth. Meanwhile, of course, Prince William, Charles's eldest son, will now become the new heir to the throne. And hopefully the crouton here living in California will be they won't remember him much.
Yeah.
I thought we had to bring that up, and that is part of my new segment, Tom's Tangential Attack.
Well, we have to know those things.
That's all thanks to John Emmett, and all things British come from him and from Andrew McIrvin. And Andrew, we got to get McIrvin back on here because this COVID thing is causing issues. Okay, enough of that. Do you like the music? I don't know where I stole that, but But okay, we got another. Not every show. Let's get to Bravo Zulu because it was a terrific event down at Long Beach Yacht Club over the weekend. Thank you for letting us take Friday off. I was traveling Friday and getting ready for the television telecast, the webcast of this terrific event hosted by Long Beach Yacht Club, terrific, esteemed club hostess Twinkie. It hosts the Congressional Cup for, well, since 60 years, nearly 60 years. And that, of course, is the Long Beach Yacht Club. Beautiful facility, nice group of people, hundreds of volunteers helping to run the U.S. Youth Match Racing Championship. This is something like their 5th or 6th match racing event already this year between their Catalina 37s. And they used for this event their fleet of nearly identical, not identical in the age, but they've equalized them all in their Long Beach Yacht Club Solings. And bravo Zulu to the club for the job of equalizing those Solings. Brand new sales. Scotty Dixon and Justin Palm, both of whom are Fozy, have played a big role in that, as did many others at the club. Bravo Zulu to you all. This was our GovCup TV team. Their lower left is Staff Commodore Peter Bretschker. Second, I'll point a couple of these characters out. Peter Bretschker is past Commodore of Balboa Yacht Club, and his wife, Kari, they own this beautiful Navigator 53, which is our broadcast boat, has been for years. Kari is our Director of Craft Services, takes care of us with food and drink. We call it hydration. Hydration, what do we call it? Victualization or something stupid. But she's our Director of Craft Services.
Yeah.
This is the longtime chair now of the GovCup. She even came up and helped. You had a whole bunch of sailors. Everybody is a volunteer. Everybody a keen racing sailor, led by Chris Bretschker, who's our producer director. And a terrific time was had by all. And we were, I think, something like 7 hours. Was it? No, 1 7 hour. 5 hours on Saturday and nearly 3 hours on Sunday with hardly a break. And
Yes.
It's good fun. And when you see this team in action, it's amazing. All self-taught, basically, all volunteers. The live coverage provided Saturday and Sunday by the GovCup TV team. And we get invitations to go do other events kind of all the time, and we just don't have the time.
Well,
energy to do
largely
that.
because you've overcome some of the obstacles of broadcasting from the water.
Well, and that's a key thing. Andy Rose and I are very, really insistent that we go out on the water so we can see what's going on.
Right.
And Andy and I co-hosted the commentary with Matt Whitfield
Yes.
as well. And then these two guys, there's Matt on the right from Great Britain, who stayed here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, who
Yes.
is a GovCup alum, several-time national youth and now national, I think, senior match racing champion in the UK.
Yeah.
Exactly. Max Brennan from Balboa Yacht Club was our on-the-water commentator. And, you put these kids in, and he found out Saturday morning, about an hour before we docked out, that he was going to go out and do this because we had lost our boat. We'd lost a commentator, and Andy approached him, and Max was there to talk to the kids racing in this because he's won the event both. That is the Rose Cup, this youth match racing championship here in the U.S. He's won it both as a skipper and as a crew.
Aha.
And it was really interesting to have a crew's perspective
Yes.
on what we call the roving boat. And Max and Matt both did a fabulous job for us. There's Max in the bow of the Gladstone's Long Beach, thanks to John Sangmeister, provided his rib for us on Sunday. Where there were some of the others of our crew. There's John's wife, Sarah Tong Sangmeister, far left, was out there on it's her son William, I think, their son William, who crewed on one of the teams. And this roving boat is really important, and we're there. That's the boat in the background, is the television boat, Adios. And we're up there. You can see us up there on the fly bridge. And we got a good view up there. We've got great comms with a team of some 15 people spread out over the course. The finals came down. It was first to win 3. It went the full 5 races between Justin Callahan, representing the Biscayne Bay Yacht Club, and the Newport Harbor crew. We'll tell you more about them in a sec. And it was exceedingly close racing. I won't go into the details, but if you want to watch the last hour of Sunday's telecast,
Yes.
you watched the whole thing,
Yes,
right?
I did.
And it was textbook magnificent match racing from a couple of 17-year-old teams. It was very impressive to see. Here they are crossing the finish line, the Newport Harbor crew. And again, we'll tell you some more about them, including, well, we'll tell you, they just sailed magnificently. But the winners truly were all these kids from all these clubs, 8 teams from 8 clubs around the U.S. Morgan Pinckney, Will Glasson, Ashley Highland, and Peter Sangmeister representing Newport Harbor Yacht Club won. Justin Callahan and his twin brother Mitchell Callahan, who are headed to Harvard in the fall, which Andy kept calling the Stanford of the East. Madeline Hughes and Liam O'Keefe from Biscayne Bay Yacht Club, they were in the finals, went the full final races, and either of them could have won it. And D. Justin, they went undefeated through most of the rest of the series until the finals. But Hayden Earl from the New York Yacht Club and his team, Jack Flores from Newport, another Newport Harbor Yacht Club team. Noah Stapleton, who I think the kid, if he looked like he was about 12, he may be 50. He has to be 16. I think that was the youngest age. You had to be at least 16. And you could not have turned 21 in this year. He sailed very well, finishing 5th. Marbella Marlowe with 3 women. Each team had to have a female or at least one male, one female. Marbella Marlowe had Gray Hemmons and Mariana Shand with her. So 3 women. They sailed quite well. Hamilton, in fact, the only team to have beaten the Morgan Pinckney and his team in the rounds robin. And then Hamilton Barclay from Houston and Alex Lech from Long Beach Yacht Club. Lech. We were debating whether it was Lech or Lech, and we finally got it right by the end of the regatta. Bravo Zulu to them all, especially to this team of Ashley Highland, Peter Sangmeister, Will Glasson, Morgan Pinckney, left to right there, with match racing guru, all around Pied Piper of youth sailing, not only here in the U.S., but beyond, Dave Perry, representing U.S. sailing. He's from Connecticut. He's been on the show any number of times. And David Stotler, who's a past Commodore at Long Beach Yacht Club, who is the regatta chair. This, Julia, was a superb event. Bravo Zulu to the Yacht Club, to Dave Perry, who coached these kids throughout. It was a clinic. Yeah. A clinigatta, as they call it. It's a clinic and then a regatta, and Dave's coaching them throughout. And you can see the progress of the kids across the board.
Yes. Now, they do a spectacular job, and they get better and better.
Well, and they did. Even on the final day, it was really impressive to say. Dave Perry, we'll get him back on here because this is so good for the sport, so good for match racing, so good for youth match racing. In particular, Bravo Zulu all around. And we'll get to Jack Egan in a minute, who is going to sail in the GovCup, and he will be our interviewee here in episode 4. Speaking of which, what? We're moving quickly here, Julia. We got to move ahead. Balboa Yacht Club's Governor's Cup coming up here at the end of July. And this is episode 4. This is the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship for the GovCup. It's our Posey, Jeffrey Peterson, and Max Brennan, the aforementioned, winning it last year. And here is our episode 4 for today with Jack Egan and Andy Rose. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Road to the 2022 Governor's Cup, the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship, hosted each year. This will be the 55th year by Balboa Yacht Club down in Newport Beach, California. Delighted to have with us, as usual, our GovCup guru, former winner of the GovCup and lots of other events, match racing in particular, Andy Rose down in Newport Beach, and our skipper today that we're featuring, Jack Egan from San Diego Yacht Club. Welcome to you both. Andrew, take it away.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's great, as usual, to be back on Road to the GovCup. And this episode, we have a friend, actually, though I really got to know a little bit last year in the Governor's Cup, Jack Egan from the esteemed, as you would say, Tom, San Diego Yacht Club. Welcome, Jack. I haven't seen you with all your facial hair there.
Yeah, it's new, but thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited.
Shall we go into the slides straight away?
Sure, and we can comment a little bit on them. It gives a little bit of the story.
Okay, and we'll ask you, Jack, to you take us through these, and you can comment on them as we go forward. This is what, from 10 years ago?
Yeah, so I'm probably 10 or 11 in that photo, just in La Playa Basin here, where I grew up doing most of my sailing at San Diego Yacht Club. And to those who don't know, maybe the international viewers, that's a Sabot. Only sailed in Southern California, but kind of our secret sauce down here. So that's what all was built on.
Jack, if they ever build a 30-foot Sabot to do match racing in, you and I and a few others from Southern California would kill because we know how to sail with a leeboard.
Get on it, Andy. Yep, sign me up.
Now, being a San Diego boy, you're also a surfer. That's the end of Point Loma for those that are familiar.
Yep, yep. Sailing and surfing go very well together because if there isn't much wind, probably a good surfing day. If there's a lot of wind, probably a good sailing day. So that's pretty much the routine in the summer. That's right at the end of the point. Only boat access, bit of a local spot, but yeah, that was a key part of my summers for sure.
Now, the-
More a little Southern Californiana, Tom. At 13, most Southern Californians have to make a serious life decision, you know, whether to really sail seriously or surf seriously.
Well, you can do both, obviously.
You can do both.
And speaking of sailing seriously, this is what last year's Rose Cup at must be Rochester Yacht Club. Did you win that, Jack?
Yeah, so that's in Rochester last summer, my last Rose Cup. Unfortunately, we were on a great run. I think we were 21 races undefeated. And then we had kind of an insane final. It was 20 plus hectic, just as Dave Perry draws it up. But unfortunately, we lost that series to fellow GovCup skipper Jeffrey Peterson. But that was a great regatta for us. That was probably one of the first times I felt real success in match racing at the helm. So that was a great event.
You succumb to the curse, Jack. I asked Dave Perry about this once because I know I always had a feeling if you win all the round robins, you're not likely to win the to win the finals. Dave Perry said, "Yeah," he said, "That's sort of true." He said, "But I'd rather win all the round robin races."
Yeah. No, I've heard that many times. I felt it there.
Now, the Rose Cup is taking place this weekend at Long Beach. I'm headed down there tomorrow to join Andy and Chris Bretschker and the rest of our GovCup TV team to televise that live. And you were runner-up, not the winner last year. But then you've also had some other great match racing success. But in the meantime, you're also one of the top collegiate sailors for Yale University.
Yeah. So due to COVID, this was my first real semesters of college sailing, and that's kind of my bread and butter. I love scholastic sailing, the fast tempo, all of that. So it was a super, super cool opportunity to finally be able to do that, and at a school like Yale with a program like Yale. Our team was in a great spot this year, so I just had a blast doing that this year.
Is Yale, does it have a better sailing team than Andy's alma mater, Stanford?
You know, currently, we just won the Fowl Trophy, which is for the team of the year. Stanford put up some good competition, but I think we got the sweep against them in all the nationals. So, but they're a great team. Always look forward to racing against them when they venture out to the East Coast and at the nationals.
Yeah, they keep getting beat like that. I doubt they'll want to venture out much more.
Okay, let's go to match racing, collegiate match racing. In St. Pete Yacht Club last year, you won the collegiate match racing championship. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so in previous years, Yale hadn't put in a whole lot of effort to match racing, but through the recruitment process and before going to college, I'd always talk to Zach about that being something I wanted to do. Zach being our head coach and head coach of Yale for a good amount of years. And we were really fortunate this year. We got Thomas Barrows, former Olympian, really, really top level sailor as our assistant coach, who fortunately also had a lot of pro J70 experience, which is what the Match Race Nationals was posted in this year, which was also a new experience doing some asymmetrical match racing. But the way it works in college is in our conference, NISA, New England, there was a qualifier for the qualifier, which was a fleet race, and then a match racing qualifier, and then the nationals at the end of the fall. So it was really cool to actually kind of put in a campaign for a match racing event. It's kind of something I haven't really done because I've usually occupied more with the dinghy sailing and all that. And Thomas was a huge help to us boat handling wise. I had some great teammates with me. From left to right, we have Nicholas Davies, and then in the middle, GovCup friend Christoph Chamont, and then next to Christoph is Megan Grimes, and they did an absolutely amazing job. And I don't think I've ever felt like that confident with my boat handling and all that going into an event. And so that was a really cool experience, and was fortunate enough to win it. Actually, the first one in Yale's history. So that was a pretty cool event.
Well, a couple of things, Jack. First, I'm ecstatic that you're doing that. I think winning was really good. But one of my things is most college coaches don't know much about match racing. I hate to say it, and I've always described the intercollegiate match racing championship as sort of the redheaded stepchild. I think because a lot of the coaches don't know how to do it, they don't emphasize it, and they certainly don't recruit for it. But as far as longevity in the sport, those that do well in match racing in college are probably going to have at least and probably a better career of lifetime sailing than those that just do, the dinghy stuff. So I congratulate you. I think that's fantastic. And by the way, you beat, among others, Jack Parkin at Stanford, who had won that. So that was quite a win.
We knew Andy'd get a plug in for Stanford.
Well, you're going to get a little competition this year from Mr. Peterson, who will be at Georgetown. So,
yeah, I hope so. But yeah, I think top 3 or 4 were all Rose Cup, GovCup grads. Jack Ryder on Georgetown.
Yep.
Coast Guard put together a campaign. So yeah, it was a great event.
Now, this will not be your first year at GovCup. You actually sailed last year. Here you are being welcomed by, I don't know who that is, Andy, somebody at Balboa Yacht Club.
I don't either.
And we're delighted. I found this picture online. Delighted to have you back. What was your impression last year, Jack, of your first GovCup?
It was a great event. Super cool to sail the new boats. So we got our qualification through Rose Cup, since Jeffrey already had his admittance into GovCup, which a little bit put us into a precarious situation because the weight limits are a little different. And it turned out to be a fairly decent breeze for the whole event. So the boats were kind of handed it to us, if I'm being honest.
It always blows like that in Newport, Jack.
Yep, just how the boats were designed. But it was definitely one of the most well put together events I've ever been a part of. And my main takeaway from it last summer was excited to hopefully be able to do it this summer and get the team on board and be able to plan for it a little more. So I'm super, super excited to be coming back.
Well, you would have, I can tell you, I'm on the selection committee, and you would have undoubtedly received an invitation anyway, but there is an automatic invitation for the winner of the intercollegiate. So that was easy. But I think it's exciting. Are you going to sail with 3 or 4 people?
I'm going to try 4 up this year. So we're going to see how that goes.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think we'll have a record number of 4-ups, meaning 4 people on the boat. The boats were designed for 3 or 4, as you know, and we just go with a weight limit. But with that wide open cockpit, would have been tougher on the older boats to put 4 people in there comfortably. With these boats, it's easy, and you're a little before your time. But when they were new in 2016, Nevin Snow sailed 4 up and won. The other boat that sailed 4 up got 12th. So we realized then that, boy, this is good. It really is. It works either way. And so this will be interesting. There will be more 4-ups, I think, than normal.
Yeah.
One last question from me before Andy takes it home. You grew up at, well, Andy used the word, the esteemed San Diego Yacht Club, home of Dennis Conner, Lowell North, and just any number of other fantastic sailors. Year-round sailing, average temperature 72 degrees. A fabulous place to grow up. You're there as we speak. You're at the club at the Malin Burnham Sailing Center, and here is a look from out on the water side.
Another Stanford alum, by the way, Malin Burnham. Go ahead.
The Burnham Sailing Center. Tell us about what it meant to you, Jack, growing up at San Diego Yacht Club.
Yeah, like you said, I was super fortunate to have my upbringing be here. Obviously, the Sabbats was a great part of my growing up, but then from there, San Diego combined with Steve Hunt at Point Loma High School and the multiple assistant coaches we had there. Just so much access to so much sailing knowledge. And it's super easy to find. So the combination of the yacht club providing us with the boats and the logistics and the coaches and the financial support from the donors all around the yacht club, and then combined with Point Loma High School and what we were able to do there, combined with the weather, you really can't ask for much more from a yacht club.
Andy, over to you for the final couple questions.
Well, it's a great club. This year, Jack, last year because of COVID, it was a heavily U.S. and Europe oriented fleet. This year we have we have a British team, and we have the Kiwis and the Aussies back. You guys, this is an interesting year in that respect. We have one of the New Zealand teams is led by Jordan Stevenson, who was 2 years ago one of the top match racers in the world, while the Aussies and Kiwis and Brits really couldn't go anywhere, but in particular the Aussies and the Kiwis. So it'll be interesting to see. Jordan is sort of the transition person between the Nick Egnott Johnsons of the world, who won twice, Harry Price of Australia, who won twice, and now we have sort of the next generation, if you consider a generation 5 years or something. But this should be interesting. What do you think? Have you sailed against any of the Kiwis and Aussies?
I have not. So you could say I'm probably blissfully ignorant. But even in my limited match racing experience, I know, and even when you know how good someone is, all of a sudden they're losing a race with a penalty or something crazy can happen in match racing. So I'm super excited to get to meet some of those kids. I remember last year Marius was able to come down to San Diego after, so that's always one of the coolest things in sailing, but you haven't really been able to do during COVID. So super looking forward to that. And then obviously the great competition I'm sure they're going to provide.
All right. Well, we should have, you're referring to Marius Westerlund, who was a big hit last year at Governor's Cup. He's got a tremendous personality and is very funny, and we'll have him on probably week after next or thereabouts. So we're excited about that. Robbie King, from a two-time UK youth match racing champion, is coming from the UK. We had him on already. And at any rate, well, Jack, we can hardly wait to see you. We can hardly wait for the event. As I've always described, it's my second Christmas week, but I think the competition this year is going to be tougher. I think there's little chance of anybody suffering the curse of winning all the round robin races. Let's just leave it at that. So good luck to you, and we'll see you in, I guess it's 5.5 weeks, Tom Eamon.
We will indeed. Thank you very much, Jack, down in San Diego. Jack Skipper, interviewee. Andy, I'll see you this weekend. Well, this is going to air next Tuesday, so we'll already be done with the Rose Cup, but we'll see you both down in Newport Beach at Balboa Yacht Club in about 5 weeks' time. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks.
They're fun to do, and yeah, the kid Jack Egan is such a bright.
Yes.
And who was it? Gordon Smith said it looks like he's just sitting on on an ant's nest, and he's so enthusiastic. He's so raring to go, and wonderful. All these guys, all four that we've interviewed so far, and I think Andy's right. I think this year is going to be better than ever in terms of just the strength of this. It gets better and better every year. The kids have so much fun, but they make friends for life. You heard the little anecdote about him inviting Marius Westerlund from Sweden down. Yeah. Marius is a hoot, and he's back this year. We're looking forward to that.
That's good.
Julia, you pointed out this question from Bill Wingrove. What's a pathway for young teens to get into match racing and potentially get to the Rose, the Gov, the youth match racing worlds? I think, what is that?
My watch.
Oh, it's your watch. Bloody hell, all of Julia's devices. One didn't get turned off. I thought it was something over here behind me. Nonetheless, the answer to that, I think, Bill, is to call Dave Perry, because he's got clinics going on here, there, and everywhere, youth clinics, youth match racing clinics. And I would just go call I just called Dave because he listed at the GovCup.
Where do you find Dave?
Dave Perry, and Bill knows how to get a hold of him in the U.S. Sailing.
U.S. Sailing.
Yeah. But he listed at the GovCup, the Rose Cup prize giving on the whiteboard. He said, "Hey, if you're interested in this," and he's telling the kids, "Come here, do this, do that," and I would just call him. Stingray saying it'd be interesting to see Phil Robertson race the event again. Phil, of course, who's now SailGP's skipper for Team Canada, and he's had another great weekend. We're going to cover that in a sec. Julia's Toys again, LOL. Ryman is saying GovCup, one of the best events in the sailing world. Christiane Price, she's been there. Her kid, Harry Price, one of her two kids are both brilliant sailors, Olivia and Harry, all Fosies. And her husband, Pricey, who's both of them, all great contributors to the sport. It's good fun, and we're looking forward to it in, as I said, 5 weeks' time. It's the last full week of. In fact, I think I have a slide here coming up. So far we've done Jack now with Robbie King, Robbie from GBR, and Robbie McCutcheon from New Zealand, and we've also done Jordan Stevenson. I think we're going to now tee up Morgan Pinckney, who just won the Rose Cup. We'll get him on hopefully on Friday, and we'll carry through the whole list of 12. Now, you see down at the bottom where it says Rose Cup winner. Well, the Rose Cup winner was, of course, Team Pinckney. It was Morgan Pinckney. He's already qualified. He's already been invited. This is a by invitation event. So the alternate was Ansgar Jordan from the Coronado Yacht Club down in San Diego. So Ansgar he was invited Sunday afternoon, and he accepted within about 5 minutes.
Oh, good.
They texted him or sent him an email, and it came straight back. He was apparently watching the television, waiting with bated breath, as they say, which has nothing to do with fish bait, right?
Correct.
That will all take place at the beautiful and esteemed Balboa Yacht Club the 25th through the 30th of July. Next month, the 55th edition of the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship, a.k.a. the Governor's Cup. Jack Egan, thanks for that, and he just is like all these kids, and they are kids. They're just fabulous representatives of our sport. So let's go to Chicago and the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix, which took place over the weekend. Now I have two videos to play. It's really one long video. It came out just before we went to air. I grabbed it. I'm going to play the opening couple three, because it's long. It's 14, 15 minutes long. Play the opening couple 3 minutes of it, just to kind of give you the feel for how the racing went on Saturday, and then cut to the final race that took place, of course, on Sunday. And you probably all know who won. Again, have a look.
Welcome to the Windy City and the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier and Chicago's Skyline Stadium.
Closer to the line, 19 seconds to go.
This is
Great
the umpire's,
Britain.
Penalty Australia relative Denmark.
Oh, what a start for the defending champions. They're going to need to drop back behind Denmark after the start here, but it's New Zealand at the top of the line, Britain at the bottom of the line. Who's got their timing right? 4 seconds. Look for the line to go white. Clear start. Great start, New Zealand. Great start, Great Britain. It's going to be a sprint now to Mark 1, and I like where the British are to control the first move. Look at tight moment here. Spain can be able to look to turn. New Zealand and Canada. Oh, there's surely going to be a protest there. Wow, that was big push down there on board. Spain onto Canada. New Zealand jibed away. Surely a protest. Great Britain in the mean round. Look, they're going to lead at gate 2 by the look of it, but they're off the foils. Overlap established by New Zealand. Great Britain must give room to New Zealand. Wow, it's tight at the gate here.
Look at this, very congested Lakeshore Drive at 5 o'clock on a Friday as they all try to get that mark. A last-second change by Spain as they will follow Australia in it and lose a position.
Really difficult downwind leg for Spain, and interestingly, it's the boats that Australia stuff it on the right turn. Uncharacteristic mistake. Both holes in the water. Look at their speed drop off here.
Kiwis and the Brits, both speeds over 50 kilometers an hour and full fly time.
Look at the fans on the shoreline there. What a great shot that is. What a spectacle that SailGP putting on here.
And race number 1 of the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier goes the way of New Zealand SailGP. Great Britain will come into second place, so they'll take those points, all 9 of them. And a great running for Denmark. Nikolai Sehested
Looks to me like Phil Robertson on board Canada at the top of the line. They're foiling with 4 seconds to go. They turn the boat down. Watch for the line to go wide. Great start, Canada. Great start, Great Britain again. And it's now an absolute drag race to Mark 1. And Australia have somehow managed to stick their nose in. Wow, Phil Robertson on Canada. There must have been inches in that moment there. He spun the boat down. What a start by the Canadians. New Zealand in the pack. It's going to be tight at gate 2, but Phil Robertson on board Canada. 20 seconds to the turn up. Great job by the Canadian team. It's just better. Here we go. Ben Ainsley on board Great Britain. He has the right of way over Canada, but he's heading towards the left-hand side. We've just heard Georgia say it's better on the right. This should mean it's not good news for Great Britain. He turns. He's trying to get away from that side. There's more wind on the side of the course that Canada are sailing to at the moment, and there we go. Spithill, 4th. Looks like he's up to 2nd.
Slingsby in Australia now sliding into 2nd place. Race number 2 will go the way of Canada Sail GP in their first season competing here in season 3. They made the final in Bermuda, and here they are picking up a victory in race number 2.
There's Australia up to 2nd. They've done a nice job of holding on there. Solid performance by this British crew. They're really piecing together a consistency. Hang on, it's going to get tight at the top here.
Okay,
New Zealand looking
yeah,
to
get as tight at the
inside.
top
It's gonna
as a
be
little
close.
port. But
They
these
have got
guys,
a way
wow,
to
and they're,
Denmark
you know,
must
you'd
keep
think
clear.
this was a
He
European
pushes
soccer
it
match,
as
which
he
of
can.
course
He's
it's
gotta
not.
stay in
But
that circle.
the coverage
Now
is
all the
nice,
side
but
of the right
the
of way is gonna come
commentating,
back
I'm
to the
sorry.
finish.
As you heard, if you watch the stuff we did, I'm going to cut that off now. If you watch the stuff we did from down there, and I think most people prefer that sailing is covered like a tennis match or a golf match. She approaches the tee, nice swing, watch the ball, and a little, you know, it's just, these guys are just over the top. But they're getting better. I thought
I'm going to say I like the energy.
Wow, I mean, excuse me, here we go. Excuse me, Julia.
Well, the energy's good.
It's fake.
Never mind.
Give us some more analysis and insight. But anyway, the energy, never mind. Okay, well, to each their own. There are a lot of comments here, and then we're going to watch. I'm going to play just the final race, the top 3. Jack Egan, we'll go to bated breath. NZL looked terrific in Chicago until the bad start in race 5 on Sunday. Yeah, Stingray. Canada proved that Bermuda was no fluke. Indeed. You got to give Phil Robertson and that team a lot of credit. Bill Wingrove agrees with me, Julia.
Yes, well, you know better.
The commentary is what keeps me from watching these things. Commentary would be better on the water with background. It is so much better doing it from on the water, where you can see what's going on and yada, yada, yada. Stingray, I think the commentary and energy is very good, so he agrees.
Oh, well, good.
With you. Crouton that he is. No, of course. Clark Chapin, the commentators must have a minimum number of words that they need to get into a 20-minute race. Well, we're all learning. But let me now go back to the final race where the top 3 teams that coming out of the first 5 fleet races, then the top 3 teams go in for the winner take all, the points. And this was pretty interesting indeed.
Now it's a timing case here. Watch them come in. Perfect from Australia in the middle of the line, and now it's a blast. Look at the speeds at the top of the mast, 10 kilometres an hour faster. I think it could be Australia first at the mark again. Can Canada hang on the inside? What a masterclass at the start line there. No overlap, that means Australia are clear ahead. He's judged it perfectly again, and control now with Australia. What do the others do? Ainsley on board Great Britain, well, he turns away. He's looking for more wind. He doesn't just want to follow. He thinks he spotted something to the left-hand side of our screen. Is he going to be right?
Ben's going to have to make an extra turn. He's out of sequence with the fleet. It's a really similar setup to what we had in Bermuda. If Australia can get down and make it without doing any more turns and take the favoured left gate, they're going to be in really good shape for this race.
To the top of our screen, that's the side of the course that Nathan said there's more wind. Well, don't get a name like the Wind Whisperer, Nathan Outridge, without knowing how to spot that kind of stuff. And the Australians, well, they're heading straight back there. And Phil Robertson, he knows that as well. He can't, if he takes a left turn, he's going to lose distance. He's got to follow at this point in time. Looks like he might be settling for defending 2nd place as we're on leg 4 or 5. There's not very far to go now, Todd.
It's a long season and every point counts. And right now, no one has been able to crack the formula that Tom Slingsby has put together. The final meters on Lake Michigan and the T-Mobile United States Sail Grand Prix Chicago at Navy Pier goes the way of the Australians. The two-time defending champions make it 2 in a row.
Oh, it's all smiles on board the Australian boat. What a moment.
Canada this time plays it safe. Phil Robertson had a great regatta here in Chicago. They will finish in second place to back up the third they got in Bermuda. And Great Britain swaps spots with Canada. They finished second in Bermuda. They finished third in Chicago. It's Australia. Tom Slingsby on a winning roll to take the title here on Lake Michigan.
Okay, it's the images, the TV was great. The commentary, whether you agree, whether you like it or not, it's a personal thing, apparently. A couple other comments here. Fog Machine saying the commentary team is unwatchable. Too much disinformation. But I liked, and Daniel Gruen, who was, I think he was just grumpy because his favorite team, Sir Ben, didn't win. You're too harsh on the commentary team, Daniel Gruen in Augsburg, Germany, is saying. Daniel Gruen, I do agree with you 100%. Emily Nagel is a terrific addition to the commentator team, but Nathan Outeridge is still the best. And you notice, Julie, Nathan doesn't get all bombastic and, wow, this is so fantastic, and here we go. I mean, excuse me.
I know.
Excuse me.
Neither do you.
I don't. When Stingray saying the wind dropped off a little bit, foil tacking was dicey. Yes, it was. Clark saying it was too bad that Sunday's racing had to occur farther from the shore. Yeah, well, they were in a westerly, right? So they had to get offshore, get away from Navy Pier, and get some air. Most Fozy could do better after a couple of beers, Fog Machine says. Now, here's an interesting comment from Luca Craig down there at the bottom there. Great article in the in the New Zealand Herald talking to Ray Davies, the Sail GP New Zealand coach, and also an ETNZ coach, and great sailor as well as bass player. He's a bass guitar player. He discussed Phil Robertson and basically said it's hard not to take interest in Phil. Would be interesting if ETNZ considered picking him up also, Luca Craig says. Yeah. I think it was Australia's 7th straight regatta win, Stingray is saying. Well, they won a bunch in a row. But another good weekend for Sail GP. Looked like they had a fairly good turnout on Navy Pier. Pretty good weather, more wind than they probably had. We told you it was going to be breezy on last Tuesday's show, and it did fall off a bit on Sunday compared to what the early predictions were. But good stuff. Still some more. Daniel Gruen, the irony is Tom did not attack Todd Harris when he was commentating during AC 34. Stop the double standard. Well, Daniel, I tolerate Todd Harris because he's the lead commentator, and somebody's got to do it. And the fact that he's an American non-sailor drives me nuts. You know, Kenny Reed's terrific, and Kenny is a sailor. And Shirley Robertson is terrific, and she's a sailor. That's what you need. You need sailors who are look at the. Okay, I don't want to argue about commentators. We got more
on the water.
On the water, we got more important stuff to talk about. If you're just joining us, welcome to our show number 530 for Tuesday, the 21st of June. The June solstice, first day of winter down under, first day of summer up here. There were some comments, Julia, about bated breath.
Yes.
Questions and comments. And you know from whence that expression comes?
I've forgotten.
Well, see, I have it here.
Okay.
This is another Tom's tangential tack. Baited, it is B-A-T-E-D.
I know that.
It's short for abated, is a phrase that means to hold one's breath due to suspense, trepidation, or fear. Bated breath is a phrase first mentioned in The Merchant of Venice. Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. The word baited, B-A-T-E-D, is an abbreviation of the word abated, meaning to lessen in severity or amount. Baited is rarely used on its own as an adjective or verb, unless we're talking about John Emmett. the master, no, we're not going to talk about it. But it lingers in the English language in the phrase bated breath. It's often misspelled B-A-I-T-E-D. Bait is a substance used as a lure to capture fish or other prey, as you all know.
Yeah.
Therefore, someone with baited, B-A-I-T-E-D, breath would probably have a terrible case of halitosis.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I pulled that up just because we want to have this kind of stuff on our history. It's Masta. Okay, Ted Ryman. Ted Ryman's weighing. Chris Fowler is the lead commentator for ESPN during their Wimbledon, U.S. Open, and Aussie Open coverage, and no one complains about it. Yeah, but Chris Fowler is also not bombastic, Daniel. Maybe I yell too much as well. Jody does not yell. Jody is only when Russell told him to be more animated and more bombastic was Jody more animated. Glenn Van Heel is saying, could be worse, could be Tucker Thompson and Gary. Well, Tucker and Gary don't necessarily get along all that well, but Gary is a superb analyst, color commentator, and has been for years. And we're lucky to have him in the sport. Abated Illustrated. Abated Illustrated. That brings us to Corrector. Corrector Kurtonic, another sailing. No, it's not a sailing topic, but at least it's a water topic. And, this comes up from time to time because we do, hopefully it will never affect our sport, but if it does, we'll have a look at it. And then, of course, we mentioned at the top of the show, this Bloomberg quick take, and it's been all over the news, that FINA, which is the International Federation of Nautical, whatever the N stands for, swimming, transgender women banned from elite swimming competitions under new FINA rules. World Swimming's governing body has effectively banned transgender women from competing in women's events starting yesterday. Julia, correct or Crutonic?
Oh, correct.
Absolutely correct. No hesitations at all?
No.
What saith the rest of our foesy? Geez, that bloke's got Hooters. I'm sweetie. Yeah, we're going to get to a cup date, Daniel Gruen. Don't worry about that. Maybe we could have a Fozy overdubbed program next time. Well, I don't know how you all feel about this. We'll see in the comments, but we can't have it. Greg Phillips says it's absolutely correct. You can't do this. We have an open sport largely. We talked a little bit about it on the telecast over the weekend down at Long Beach. And most of our sport is open. Men and women sail together and with great fun. And if somebody is trans or other, we've had as a Fozy and had her on the show, Karen Robertson from, it doesn't matter. We love people, gay, straight, trans, and they're a completely different deal. But you can't have transgender men competing against women like this Penn swimmer was, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Embarrassingly correct, Bill Wingrove says, why do we even have to discuss it? Totally correct, Alistair Murray says. Justin Stingray saying, I think transgenders should have to pay extra for gas. Tier DeYoung, William Haynes, there's very few people that think it's incorrect, and I'm just glad, and I hope our governing bodies will do it as well. Have open competitions, have all women competitions, have men competitions,
have combined competitions.
Well, that's what we do. That's open.
Yeah, I know.
That's mixed gender. Open, right?
Yeah, right.
And most of our sport is combined.
It is.
And I like the rules I really do like the rules like the GovCup, where you have to have at least one woman and one man on the boat. And whatever else you have that's open. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Other comments, as Fonzie would say, correctamundo. Jody, you're too. Nobody else remembers who Fonzie was.
I do.
Who was Fonzie? Who was Fonzie? Remember the show?
Sure.
And the name of the show was? And who was in it?
Oh,
the Fonz.
The Fonz, yeah.
What a crazy, crazy world Graham Sweeney is saying. The science behind transgender athletes is evolving. Don't make uninformed statements that may be later shown to be crutonic by later discoveries. The ever woke Clark Chapin, my dear friend. Correct, Maura Stevens says to me, for swimming has to do with muscle development, and they are very different between genders. Open gender competition is the wave of the future. Okay, fine. Happy days. Everybody's saying happy days. Ron Howard, who went on to be a great television director, producer, Mr. Fonzarelli. Happy days. Arthur Fonzarelli, Fog Machine. Yep. And yep. Okay, and most people think this was the correct decision. sorting out a crotonic situation. Now, I'm all in favor of people that want to. I have no problem at all with people who want to transition or do transition, but I don't like men. The worst thing, the biggest problem, obviously, are people who identify who's a man physiologically and identifies as a woman is allowed to compete as a woman. Excuse me. That's patently absurd. That's like somebody sent me a cartoon, said, oh, my motorcycle identifies as a bicycle. Can I race in the Tour de France? Mm-hmm. Can it race in the Tour de France?
Yeah.
Clark Chapin, woke is a pejorative term used mainly by certain right-wing media. You should avoid its use. I will not avoid its use, Clark. Don't you consider yourself woke, Clark? Henry Winkler has had a professional rebirth over the past years. He's excellent in HBO's Barney. Okay. Has anyone ever seen the Fonz and
Barry.
Captain? What?
HBO's
Barry. Did I say Barney? Yeah, mm-hmm. Barry. Thank you. Has anyone ever seen the Fonz and Captain Klinger in the same room? Okay, Clark, I won't refer to you as being woke if you don't like that word. Clark, who is a very thoughtful, warm, smart guy and a longtime dear friend. How's that?
Yes.
And those of you looking for an update, here we go. Who was looking for that? Who was that? Was that
Daniel Gruen? Was it?
Yeah, it was Daniel Gruen. I think it was saying, "Where's your AC-37 Cup date? The $20 million man." We're not going to talk about him today, but we are going to talk about his team, which has released this nice 1-minute video about.
The process now for the next stage is to just get everything ready to
their world speed.
Australia. The key thing we need to make sure is that we're fully self-sufficient when we get there. There is a lot to it. You take for granted power. You take for granted the fact that if you've left something behind, you can just whip down the road and grab it. Well, we've got none of that. We're based at Lake Girdner, down onto the Salt Lake itself. We need to transit with the craft, and so we've got this awesome trailer that we've had made up, and we can fit that in a container. So when we get to the other end, we just hook up a ute and tow it out, so to speak. And then in the main container here, which is our workshop container, we've got to have everybody from engineers and the mechanics working in there right the way through to our media guys working in that same environment. So we pride ourselves on our ability normally to be ship shape and ready to go and fully self-sufficient. So this one's just a little bit extra to make sure we can cope with any of the demands from the project as we get to Australia.
Incoming Curly, 100 mil. Yo!
Well, are they going to pull it off? What do you think, Julia?
I think they'll have a. They might.
Is it a distraction? Some people still think it's a distraction.
I'm distracted anyway, but so
by this, I've warmed to it. I think they're learning a lot. I think they're going to have some interesting. I use the word progressive here. I think they're going to progress their campaign with this, even though it's a little off the shall we say beaten path.
Yes.
It's not exactly a sailing in the water thing or even foiling in the water thing, but they don't have tire stores in New Zealand and Australia. Bill Wingrove is asking. The Kiwis are normally really good at pulling it off. Jody Shields is saying. Lost the YouTube feed. Really? Anyone else? I think the YouTube feed's still going here.
I'm not using it today.
Looks good here. I'm looking at all the feeds. We keep going. Woke means not asleep to me, a silly word, Ted Ryman says. Okay, we'll use progressive. So we'll keep following this. It's really the only news in the America's Cup as far as I can tell. I can tell you the situation is not over down in New Zealand. Julie, you heard just before we went to air, and I'm not going to repeat the news, but stand by as things are not as they're as clear as mud, shall we say.
Yes.
And now, apropos what a couple of you commented on a minute ago, Team New Zealand considering signing Sail GP star. This was Margarita Marshall's post to her Facebook page. Of course, former Margarita Bottini, now married to John Marshall, picking up on that New Zealand Herald article. And the rumor is, one hears that, and I don't think Ray Davies would have said that if they weren't thinking about it or indeed progressing it, that Phil Robertson might be, and he's a Kiwi, so he's eligible under the AC-37 eligibility rules. Is Phil Robertson headed to ETNZ for AC-37? What do you all think? Let's see what they say. Okay, now they're back and forth. Oh, Julia, the package has resurfaced here.
Uh-oh.
Daniel Grun is saying that, as expected, the French Challenge won't announce until Quentin Delapierre is back from Lagos, the GC32 series. Yeah, I got a text from Daniel ahead of the show saying that I'm totally wrong about Alinghi and the fact that Alinghi is not all in with the Swiss SailGP team. He thinks is a mistake and is going to hurt their chances of winning the America's Cup. But we'll see. I still rate Alinghi. He doesn't. But we'll see. So far, Daniel, I think my record of predicting winners of the America's Cup is pretty good.
Is his?
His. I'm not going to comment on his. That probably wouldn't be fair. So is Phil Robertson going to ETNZ? What do you think? We shall see. Jody, they are so good they could do that with one hand behind their back. I don't know. I think the Kiwis will lose. I'll say it again. I think they will lose if the event is held in Barcelona. If the event goes back to Auckland, I think they'll win. Full stop. I don't know if you agree or not. Okay, that gets us to the D block for here our show number 530 for Tuesday, the 21st of June.
I love that guy.
I know, we keep saying we're going to get him on the show.
Oh, yes, we have to do that. Have to do that.
Have to do that, and we have some nice contributions from our Fozy. This from Peter Taylor. As gas continues to skyrocket, costing people over $100 to fill their tanks. Beer is now cheaper than gas. Drink, don't drive. Drive, don't drink. Thanks, Peter Taylor, for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? Beer is now cheaper than gas? I guess it is. Now, This came from Ryman just before we went to air. English, and I didn't know this, I assume if Ted says it's true, it's true. English sailors on the HMS Dolphin in 1766 discovered that native women on islands would trade sex for iron. And they began pulling nails out. I thought they meant their nails on their hands, but no. Pulling the nails out of the ship, causing loss of the ship's structural integrity.
That'd keep the men around.
I almost put that in correct or crutonic, but if Ryman says it's true, I take him at his word that it's true. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Woodgrove's asking, has anyone seen the Herb Alpert with Bernie in the whipped cream seat playing A Taste of Honey? Why do professional athletes think I should care about what they think? If I wanted advice from someone who chases a ball, I'd ask my dog.
Yes.
That came from one of our foes who said, just don't mention who it is. But I had to say at this point, Julie, I have to take the opportunity to congratulate all of our friends in the New England, in the Boston area. We didn't say one word about the win by the Warriors and the wonderful parade they had here.
Yes.
And the amazingly disrespectful crowd in the TD Garden, Boston Garden.
Yes.
What the epithet, the stuff they were shouting at the Golden State Warriors. Our fans never did anything like that.
No, I don't think so.
And I'm sure none of our foes were involved in that, nor would they ever do it, but it was not correct.
Yeah.
Finally, Julia, this is for you. I saw this down at Andy Rose at Stephen Frederick's place over the weekend, and that reminded me of us. Organized people are just too lazy to look for things.
Right.
Oh, God. Oh, now the jokes are coming. This is better than the package. Sweeney saying, who is nailing native women? That's sexist, racist. That's unbelievable. Daniel, yeah. Hi, Daniel. Yeah, long time. I use E85. It's still cheap, so I can drink and drive. That's ethanol gas. We'll get Clark Chapin on here. Speaking of he is a fuel expert retired now from the auto industry, semi-retired anyway. Signing in from Texas, Kim Shamount, who says it's 112 degrees in Texas. Yeah, it's a bit warm. The Golden Ribbon. I was there, Ryman said. He wasn't there. Oh, he was there when Bernie in the whipped cream seat playing A Taste of Honey. Da 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 da. We won a talent show in 8th grade, a high school talent show when we were 8th graders.
Really?
Playing that. We had a terrific. I was just banging along, playing rhythm guitar, and we had a trumpeter who was first chair trumpet in the band. He was really good. We played Herb Alpert to success. That brings us to the finish line. There was a tragic death in the Newport to Bermuda race. A gentleman fell overboard. We will cover that in some detail, not a lot of detail, but when we get more news on that, we'll cover that in Friday's show. Likewise, in Friday's show, we will have Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. He sent another one. It is a terrific anecdote that he has sent in.
He's really good.
He is really good, and we really appreciate him joining in on our little show regularly with his anecdotes. Also, we'll have a report on the race to Alaska, which concluded since we've been televising youth match racing down south. Last comments, Julia. Ben Ainsley wants to do the Jules Verne Trophy after the Cup if he wins it. Is that what he said, Daniel? Clark Chapin, the aforementioned fuel expert, saying that automotive fuel expert, remember that E85 has about 33% less energy content, so you should never buy it until the cost is 33% less than the cost of regular. On the other hand, the octane is enough to work in cars requiring premium. So that's the Sailing Illustrated gas. Gas Illustrated. I wonder if the Kiwis can play the horn. Oh, wow, a death at it. Yeah, Daniel Yount, there was sadly a death in that race. A gentleman fell overboard. It was very windy and rough in a good bit of that race, and pretty bouncy. So we will, there's some news. Thanks, Daniel Grun, for the link there. But we'll have Alistair on, and we'll have those other reports on our show on Friday. Julia, your witness.
Yes. Please like, follow, and share. And share is becoming easier now, and it's particularly effective if you share it to your friends.
Well, and clink the bell, because it'll give you the warning. And we are now posting those ahead of the show that, we're going live. Sailing Illustrated will go live at a certain time. Look at all the nice thumbs up. Thank you very much. Comments are welcome too, even in replay. And give us $1 or $2 or $5 or $10 per month on Patreon. Support us via Patreon or send us a check. It helps keep us going, because this is viewer-supported media. We can say what we mean. The only people we work for, Julia, are the Fozy. You, that's right. You, the Fozy. And we appreciate very much your support, morally coming on here, contributing your comments, and so on. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Julia, final thoughts?
Not really.
Enjoy we said the other day, this when it got warm, it was our one day of summer. This is now our second day of summer, and it's going to quickly cool off.
It will.
We should probably have a walk in the park.
Yeah, it's hard. People don't believe that within 30 miles there's 30 degrees difference in temperature.
Well, you just go across the bridge and go up to Sonoma, where Don Lunabos is, and it can be 20 or 30 degrees warmer, let alone in the Central Valley.
Right.
Where in the Central Valley, it's 100 plus. And of course, that's why we have not only a reliably, what do we call it? Reliably windy and iconically beautiful venue, but the reliably windy is because the hot air rises in the Central Valley of California, where it's so damn hot, sucks the cool air in off the Pacific Ocean, which is only 55, 57 degrees.
Yep.
And it comes through the gate, meaning the Golden Gate Bridge, and blows oysters off rocks, or as the Aussies would say, dogs off chains.
Well, that's why we get fog twice a day, and and it clears off.
It does indeed. Jody Shields, I'm glad you pull it all together, Tom. Thank you, Jody. Thanks again. Alistair Murray. We'll have Alistair's segment again on Friday. Another great show, Ted Ryman. Thanks, Maura Stevens, Tier DeYoung, and fun and informative. It's fun to have you all along with us for all these shows.
Absolutely.
We hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.